Hello, so this is just going to be another travel tips video. I put in some links to the other videos that I've done in the past. This one is just going to be really quick. So I did have one video where I was saying it's always a good idea if you're traveling to have snacks with you, especially if you're going like on a long bus ride or boat ride or airplane ride. And then depending on where you're going, I would say the recommended things that I would bring would be stuff like peanuts. You can always find them really cheap and it's like good protein and pretty easy to store. You can usually just like get a bag anywhere in the world more or less. Another good thing would be like cereal bars if you can find them, or like granola bars, because they hold up really well and then it's like really easy to just eat on hand. Depending on how much room you have and stuff like that, you can bring carrots. That's really good because they don't really need to be refrigerated. You can just eat them as is. And yeah, they're really good for you. And so it helps when you don't eat crap all the time so you don't get sick while you travel. Possibly bananas, but the problem with that is if they get squished, it's very annoying. So cautious with squishy fruits. That's my first thing. The second one is, again, I talked about budgeting in travel. A really good way for budgeting for me is to just be on a cash basis, especially if you're in somewhere with a different currency, where it's usually cash only. So like if you have a Visa card and you happen to be somewhere where they're not going to charge you extra for that, then that's great, but there's not a lot of places like that. So usually if you're using your card all the time, you're going to get all these bank fees. And what I try to do is kind of do a 3 to 6 day budget, and I take out cash all at once instead of going every single day. You're gonna get ATM fees, and it's just a big waste of time. So yeah, like I'll get a 3 or 4 days worth of money, and then that's usually not too much to just have on you, and yeah, then you just base your budget on that. Another thing, number 3, my tip is that if you are on an off season somewhere, so if you're going somewhere that is not completely jam-packed at that time, especially in like third world countries sort of things, don't book anything online. Just go to the place. You can usually find somewhere that's nicer and cheaper if you just walk around for a bit. Like a lot of places, I just got to Belize and I was looking online and everything was at least $20 US, and then I just paid $15 for this private room because I just kind of walked into the place. So yeah, if it's an off season and it's not a busy place, and you know, research something ahead of time just in case you can't find something, and then kind of head in that general direction. But you know, keep your options open. So that's for that. Number 3, and then number 4, my tip, which I think most people who've traveled know, if you're in sort of Central South America, and a lot of places really, it's very useful to have US dollars, even if you're not from the US. It's just kind of like an international currency at this point, so I always just have a bit on me just in case I can't get money out or whatever happens. Everyone's going to accept US dollars. It's not going to be a problem. Or at least they'll exchange them for you like cash. So that's a good one. And then my last thing isn't really a tip. I guess it is a tip, but it's more of like a pet peeve. So we talked about a bit about money here. Whenever I travel with people and they're just constantly comparing the prices of everything wherever we are versus wherever they're from, it is really annoying, and especially when you're doing it to like a restaurant owner or a store owner, and you're like, oh, back home I would pay $5 for this, and it's only 50 cents here. Isn't that great? It's like pretty annoying because then the person is like, okay, so you have a lot of money. That's sort of rude. And then also they might think, oh, maybe I should charge more for those things. So you're kind of ruining it for everyone else. And then on the other hand, if you're somewhere that's more expensive and you're just complaining like, oh, this would only be $3, but now it's $10. Like, yeah, that's how it works when you're not in the same place. Things are different. That's how the world is. So yeah, I mean, like when I was in Bali, like Indonesia is very cheap, but in comparison to the cost of living, like beer or alcohol was quite expensive, even though it's cheaper than it would be, sort of say in like Australia or Canada or whatever. But when you do actually look at it, when you're thinking like, okay, in local terms, it is really expensive, probably because it's like highly Muslim population, so they don't actually want people drinking alcohol. It's just for the tourists. Um, so yeah, like whenever I go somewhere, I always just try to think in the local currency, whether it be more or less than what my homeland would be, and just go with that and not constantly compare every single thing to what it would be back home. It's a very tedious conversation that I'm tired of having with everyone. So, anyways, that's my final tip for today, and I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, as always, have a good day and peace.